This is the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast, hosted by David Charlton, and you're listening to this podcast to help you build your own mental toughness, or so that you can support other people or your clients better. Either way, you will learn more about developing this plastic personality trait that all but guarantees that you will perform better and lead a more prosperous life. Welcome back to the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast with your host, David Charlton. And today's episode is a continuation of recent episodes where we've had a focus on team sport psychology. Specifically, today we're going to be thinking about how coaches can encourage and improve teamwork. That's right, we're not talking about team morale, we're not talking about team cohesion, it is teamwork, which is different. And I've taken my musings today from different pieces of literature from both sport and from organizational psychology. And as I like to do, you'll find I do refer to Peter Clough's 4 C's mental toughness model on occasions, just to challenge your thinking. And when we're considering teamwork, we're going to look at the 3 C's. That's right, not the 4 C's. We've got the 3 C's teamwork cycle. We're going to be looking at cooperation, coordination, and communication. And, if we think about it, if teams are going to be successful, if they're going to perform well week in, week out, if they're going to maintain harmonious relationships within the team, within the setup, these 3 C's, cooperation, coordination, and communication, are essential. On coordination and confidence to start with, if a manager or a coach are preparing a team for a match at a weekend, which often happens naturally in sport, they've got to put certain plans in place. They've got to have tactics as well, which I'd hope, and strategy for the day. They're going to be drilling and training. They're going to set the team up accordingly in that way so that individually and collectively the team can execute those plans, ideally. So my question to you as a coach, are you actually raising the confidence levels of your team by the way that you do communicate? If we're thinking of coordination, are you looking out for warning signs that people don't necessarily know their roles, collectively or individually? Because let's face it, the way you communicate these messages is vitally important. So I'd just like you to question yourself in that respect. Because naturally, as we say, you're going to increase the confidence level of the individual so they can go out and play and express themselves freely. Also, what you're likely to do is add some optimism there and add some belief. What I would say in mental toughness terms, a can-do attitude, especially if they feel like the messages are being passed on frequently and very consistently. And again, if we think about these plans and these tactics and the way things are communicated, it's going to have a bearing on commitment, isn't it? Commitment levels are likely going to increase too. You're going to see players doing extras. Efforts are going to go up as a result of people being clear and knowing exactly what it is that they need to do, as well as naturally having a belief in this. That takes us on to communication there, and the head coach or coaching team need to be clear in their planning and in their instructions. There doesn't want to be mixed messages. They need to be communicating effectively between themselves in order to ensure that expectations are spelt out and fully understood. And expectations also need to be checked time and time again with players. Players also have a responsibility too. They should be encouraged to ask questions, especially if they're unsure. So something here for coaches to consider. Perhaps you've got a player who rarely asks questions. They're one of those players who just nod their heads. But you feel there's something not quite right. They don't seem to be getting the best from themselves. What is it that you can do? Well, you could be aware that they might have low interpersonal confidence. And you could actually look to try and strengthen this, to improve this. So how do you do it? You've got to think about your relationship, getting to know them as a person, helping them feel valued, checking, rechecking their expectations. Just understanding what their life looks outside of sport too. And for those players that have got high emotional control, so they've got a great poker face, this becomes even more difficult because that player, often people struggle to actually read. And it's actually easy to think that they're okay, but underneath there, they might have a problem. They might have a lot going on in their mind. I was that kid and young adult. Perspective is everything too. A manager or a head coach is not only responsible for performances on the pitch, but also for a team's perspective too. I've noted in the past, sometimes when teams are doing okay, when results and performances are above average, then bang, an issue. something catches the coach off guard. Perhaps it's an unhappy player or a popular player causes some issues. The important part in this instance is how a team actually responds and reacts to such adversity. Perseverance through challenges like this is key. So there's links of cooperation and communication, where the coach, the manager, is going to need a big picture mindset to ensure that the team aren't derailed from their collective goals and from individual objectives. They're going to need to be able to manage their own emotions, so a part of mental toughness, as well as managing the emotions of those around them too, to make sure that any decisions that are made are communicated clearly, that players are empathized with and listened to. Another key here is to be able to focus on solutions, not problems, and not get embroiled in the blame game. And when challenges do occur, some coaches are going to favour taking risks, making changes, potentially too many changes. So they need to be aware of the traps that they fall into, and then also consider the team that they've got around them, be that coaching staff, be that players, and whether they're risk averse or they enjoy challenge, enjoy change. And when we consider conversations that take place for coaches, the key here, it's linked to learning orientation. So your ability to reflect and refine your approach to combat these inevitable challenges that will take place. So thinking deeply about what you do say, how you say it, your body language, during brief chats with players, during brief chats with the team as a whole on the training pitch, during debriefs after a series of drills. And when things work well, and also when things don't go so well, you've got match day prep. So maybe the 24 hours prior to a match to think about, or the evening before a match, the morning of a match, during a warm-up, then the team talk before a game. You've got half time as well, drinks breaks or little breaks in the game potentially, and then obviously the aftermath of the game. Obviously there's a lot of different periods there, and these are going to shape whether it's a verbal conversation or just a simple message via WhatsApp or text actually takes place. So on the theme of coordination again, care needs to be taken. Thought needs to be given to the collective goals that you want the team to achieve and how they make it happen. As well as then you've got cooperation and the amount of information that's going to be shared, especially when the pressure is on, when the pressure's cranked up before or during a game at half time. And I'm wondering what actually happens to your behaviours at that point, your emotions, and then obviously your communication. Do you end up giving too much information? Do you go on a rant? Are you quite calm? Do you and the other coaches work quite well together in that respect? Are players actually clear in what it is that they need to do? Are they likely to be going out confidently and mentally prepared enough to positively affect the game or the match? I hope you enjoyed these ramblings today. I hope it's given you some food for thought. It's maybe challenged your thinking too. This 3 C's framework of coordination, cooperation, and communication is something that I'm likely to look at again in the near future, be that on a podcast or when I type the mental edge up and create different resources to help coaches and athletes. And on the theme of the mental edge, please do sign up to it. I offer a range of resources there, be it podcasts, blogs, and share other bits of advice too in there with some nice little graphics and nice images. The mental edge essentially is set up to help individuals, coaches, and teams to get the most from their talent as well as enjoying their sports. Have a fantastic week. If you enjoyed this episode of the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast with David Charlton, do check out my website, sport-excellence.co.uk, and my online sports psychology resources. The Sport-Excellence website has essential resources for anyone looking to build their own mental toughness or the mental toughness of their athletes or teams, or if you want to achieve peak performance more often or optimal functioning. The Sport Excellence website has everything you need to keep moving forward and thrive. So go on, head over to sport-excellence.co.uk